J.R.R. Tolkien's The Hobbit famously contains a grand total
of 0 female characters. When women did appear in the foundational texts of
high fantasy. They were typically confined to 2 passive archetypes: the damsel,
prized to be won by men, or the innately evil magical sorceress.
In the 1970s, as the second wave feminist movement gained momentum,
a new generation of female authors began writing back to Tolkien, attempting to reclaim a genre that had
traditionally shunned them. These authors subverted the old traditions
by placing women in the high-octane, active roles of knights and dragon slayers.
But as these new heroes took the stage, they encountered a recurring narrative trap.
Often, the very tools used to grant a woman power, like a sword or a magical destiny,
ended up stripping away her actual autonomy. To understand why,
we have to look at agency not as the ability to exert power over others, but as the ability to
retain absolute autonomy over one's own decisions.
True empowerment requires more than a simple role reversal. It demands a change in how a character
acquires and exercises power within the story itself. To map this,
we use a matrix tracking 2 dimensions of power. The horizontal axis measures impact,
from individual action to collective change. The vertical axis
evaluates behavioral traits, with masculine traits like logic at the top, and feminine traits like intuition at the bottom.
While early feminists often focus on adopting
male-coded traits to gain equality, later movements, like the girly feminism of the 90s,
actively reappropriated feminine aesthetics as a source of strength. This fluidity suggests
that gender is not an innate binary, but a learned performance, a series of stylized acts
that can be mixed and matched. When these extremes curve inward,
they meet at a central point of synthesis. This creates a model where empowerment isn't about
choosing one gendered trait over the other, but integrating both into a balanced,
androgynous whole. By plotting modern fantasy heroes onto this matrix,
we can see how authors have iteratively refined their models of empowerment across generations.
In the early 1980s, Tamora Pierce introduced Alanna,
the first female knight in her fictional world, as she struggles to succeed within a strictly
patriarchal system. Alanna gains her standing through a dual identity.
She physically disguises herself as a boy to train as a knight, but she is also fated to possess a
powerful, innate magical gift. While the gift seems like an advantage,
a close reading of the text's grammar reveals that her magic actually functions as a form of disempowerment.
When Alanna uses magic to save a friend, the text describes her
twisting in a writhing well, while an alien place pulses around her,
enclosing her like a living thing. This vague, metaphorical language
portrays her as a passive vessel. She is not in control of the magic. She is drifting within a
supernatural force she doesn't understand. Because her success is innate and inexplicable,
the society around her can dismiss her achievements as a divine fluke
or an act of fate, rather than the result of her own effort.
To gain any perceivable agency, Alanna is forced to reject her feminine identity entirely,
adopting a purely masculine framework of physical violence. On our axes matrix,
Alanna plots into the bottom left quadrant. Her journey is one of high individualism
and male-coded action, leaving her isolated as a legendary icon who has to work
within the system rather than changing it. Alanna successfully shatters the gender barrier.
But her story illustrates the magic trap. When power is innate and unexplained,
it paradoxically enforces passivity. Author Robin McKinley attempted to solve this trap
by grounding a character's power in mundane, physical reality,
as seen in her protagonist, Erin. Erin is an outcast who lacks a formal place at court.
She uses this freedom to bypass her magical destiny,
turning instead to methodical, non-magical experimentation.
When Erin invents a fireproofing potion to hunt dragons, the narrative dwells on the labor.
She burns her fingers, uses twigs as tools, and keeps careful notes of her
trial blends over the course of 2 years. This meticulous attention to detail
shifts the nature of her power. It isn't a gift or a fluke. It's an earned result of what we call
perceivable effort. Empowerment is validated when the reader
directly witnesses the cognitive and physical labor required to achieve a goal. If we see the work,
the character owns the power. However, Erin's empowerment model is still limited.
Her effort is restricted entirely to masculine domains like scientific rationalism and combat,
while she continues to view her femininity as a weakness.
Erin proves that visible labor is the antidote to the magic trap. Yet her arc still assumes that
A hero must act like a man to be effective. Authors often use sequels
to revision their own work, critiquing and improving on their previous tropes.
We see this in the shift from Alana to her successor, Kel. Unlike Alana, Kel has zero magical ability.
She survives her training solely through intense, highly perceivable
Physical and tactical labor. Kel initially struggles with her developing body,
viewing her femininity as an inconvenient obstacle that threatens her agency in a male-dominated academy.
but the turning point comes when Kel integrates traditionally female traits,
specifically maternal warmth and intuition, to disobey a military order and save a group of refugees.
By prioritizing empathy over blind obedience, Kel actually improves the masculine
chivalric code, proving that feminine strengths can make a warrior more effective.
This balance is captured in the Shukasen, a crimson soaked sand that conceals deadly steel blades,
visually bridging feminine grace with masculine lethality.
Kel also moves toward a collective model. She teaches self-defense to servant girls
and petitions the crown for permanent legal protections for commoners. On our matrix,
Kel shifts toward the right, landing at the central intersection of collective action and androgynous synthesis.
She represents the ultimate evolution, using perceivable effort
to build a community of sisterhood, while leveraging the strengths of both genders.
Kel provides a mature feminist model, showing that true agency is found in synthesizing identities
to enact systemic change. But agency can also be lost.
We see this in McKinley's second-generation hero, Harry, whose arc represents a regression in perceivable effort.
Harry begins with little agency, but after being kidnapped into a foreign land,
she uses the situation to reinvent herself as a warrior.
However, Harry masters elite swordplay and a complex foreign language in just days,
without any logical explanation for her hypercompetence. Because this power is
unearned and supernatural, Harry feels disconnected from her own achievements.
She cannot explain where her power comes from, so she cannot truly own it.
This is a breakdown in the mentorship model. Harry's in-world power is immense,
but her textual agency is undermined by the lack of perceivable labor.
When we look at the genre's evolutionary path, we see a clear migration from Alana
toward the collective ideal of Kel, while Harry represents the risk of stalling out.
These stories suggest that empowerment has nothing to do with
a character's rank, their magical strength, or combat stats. If a character's power is
innate or unexplained, the narrative structure itself is stripping away their autonomy.
Sustainable agency demands proof. The labor required
to achieve power must be perceivable on the page for that power to be real.
The most sophisticated feminist fantasy doesn't just create
a male hero in drag. It constructs a collective, androgynous framework
where true autonomy can thrive.